Can you hear that music?
Not at all.
You cannot. I'm going to kick it off again. Can you hear it now?
Yeah.
Everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday. Everything will be alright, only the past to say. Here's to the ones that we got. Here's to the wish you were here, but your life was a dream. Bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones that we made. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. Cause the dreams bring back all the memories. There's a time that I remember when I never felt so low. And I felt all the hatred just about for a star. And my heart feel like an ember, and it's not enough to die. I carry these torches for you, but you know I'll never try. Yeah, everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday. Everything gon' be alright, only the past to say. Here's to the ones that we got. Here's to the wish you were here, but you're not. Was a dream, bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones in today. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. Was a dream, bring back all the memories. Memories, bring back memories, bring back.
Hey, Shelby.
Hey there.
Well, hello. How's everybody?
Hello, everybody.
Nice to see you. We're Shelby. We have Shelby's voice, but we don't see her. She's hiding out.
Part 1 of 2. I'll be there
Anthony. Dr. Anthony, nice to meet you. Great to have you here. Excited to have you with us. Many of you. Yeah, we'll get past that first and move on from there. Many of you have gotten to know Dr. Anthony. He's been running around to a lot of the streams the last few weeks and has had some really great and interesting conversations. Let's see. Let's get some hellos out. Howard Van Tassel, hello. Frankie B. Scale and Modeling. Bass Queen is here. Nice to see you. Scott Stankovich. Let's see. Patsy Somerton.
And Wendy.
Wendy's here. Patsy. Hello, Patsy. We'll give Patsy a wrench. Get her, turn her blue. Scott, greetings to
Welcome,
Father
Betsy.
Fish and the Shoal. Great to meet you. Shelby Wendy says hi. Hi, Shelby. Selecting the fish she wants. Well, we'll help out with that, Scott. You give me the list, I'll see what I can do to help you out. What do we got? About 20 people here. Wonderful. Now, let's see. Here's Ray Aquatics. Hi, Ray. Good to see you. Dr. Anthony's playing with his, he's getting the mic up. Okay.
I'm here.
That'll work better for you. Good.
Yeah.
That's what I should get is some earplugs. This is kind of distracting. Okay, so you got yourself in a little hot water last night.
I jumped the gun. I don't know hot water. I was just hoping.
Well, it's wishful thinking.
Yeah,
I was excited here. You got everybody's enthusiasm.
I got everybody's hackles up. I mean, my phone was ringing off the hook this morning. Where'd you get that information? I had people
really
know who they are.
Well, I heard about it. On my Discord channel. There were a couple of guys up early this morning, and they were chatting and mentioned Chattanooga Ed's stream last night, where you were on in the chat. So I immediately got on the phone and spent the next 3 hours on the phone. Finally got hold of you. I talked to Project Piaba. I talked to you. I talked to Central Pet. I talked to Senator, the Senator's office. I talked to, what's it called, PJAC. And finally got it all put together at PJAC. You want to explain what happened, or shall I?
Well, I was.
Yeah, I'm new to all of this, so.
Okay, so right before I got on, I was just in the chat on Chattanooga Ed's channel last night, and I had just read on the news, a news blurb came over and said, the Senate passed a $1.5 trillion bill the day before. And I thought, well, that was supposed to be what the bill that had all the amendments to the Lacey Act was, 1.5 trillion. So I opened up the House bill, and it was House Bill 1546 or something like that, and did a search throughout the bill, which was 2,900 or 2,647 pages long, which was about the same as it was.
About the same, that's right.
Yeah. And I thought, well, I couldn't find anything with the Lacey Act. Thought, well, maybe they deleted the name Lacey Act. So I looked for, I did a search for invasive fishes. Couldn't find anything. So I thought, hey, they passed the bill and they took all that information out. So I jumped the gun and
great news.
shared it on the chat. Said, you heard it from here first from me. The bill went through without the Lacey Act, and was like, I thought I was doing good, but
really. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I was. I've been a lifelong hobbyist. For probably not as long as you, but over 50 years. And I don't want to see this hobby die.
God knows.
And I don't want to see these little businesses that these internet businesses that are doing really well selling fish, sending them across state lines.
Yep.
For most of us, we're responsible aquarists.
Exactly.
It's always the bad apples that ruin it for people, and so I was just hoping beyond hope that, that it was true, that it did pass without that information in it. But alas, I am first to admit, I'm a big man. I can admit when I'm wrong. I tell my students, if I say something wrong, tell me. I mean, it doesn't hurt my feelings to know I said something wrong. I would hate to give people wrong information and have them think that's the correct information, only to find out, Dr. Maslow, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
It turns out it was a different bill, a different act altogether. It was actually, what was interesting though, when I talked to PJAC, they said there was some confusion because the bill that's passed was referred to as an omnibus bill. It's actually a bill to fund the government.
Yep.
And there were a lot of people who were referring to the Competes Act as an omnibus bill.
Yep.
So there was some confusion there. As it turns out, the bill that was passed has nothing to do with Competes. That's still sitting there. Now, the reality is it's been backburnered. It's no longer sitting up front waiting. We anticipated because the Democrat leadership said they were going to bring it up March 1st. And they did not, primarily because of Ukraine. Yeah. And then other things began to get in the way. And then the president, at his State of the Union, and I just learned this today, I didn't pick up on it. PJAC told me, he commented on the Competes Act and said he would support the Senate version. Well, our concern is not with the Senate version, which was passed a year ago. Our concern is with the House version that included this Lacey Act amendment. So there's also now some reason to believe that when it does come up, it's going to be the Senate's version, which will not include these 600 amendments, of which the Lacey Act amendments are one group.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. The other part of it is that it probably now is going to languish and not be brought up probably until after the elections. The elections are the next big thing that the Congress critters are going to be focusing on. So there's a good chance it'll sit there for a while. PJAC and others are paying attention. They're keeping an eye out. So if it does come up in the meantime, we will hear about it, and we'll be Johnny on the spot to beat it into the ground. The only other thing I wanted to report is I spoke with, when I spoke with PJAC, I asked them if anyone had been successful in reaching out to Senator Rubio, who's the one who proposed this. And they said only one organization has been able to get through to him, and that was aquaculture, which is a commercial farm fishing organization. I wrote from them. They have a monthly publication. I did some writing for them early on. Didn't last long. I got distracted, I guess. But anyway, they were not able to get any kind of commitment out of them except to say, well, we'll be able to work that out once it's approved and goes to the Department of the Interior. In other words, it'll be a bureaucratic fix, which was really no solution at all. So he's sitting tight. I still think that a group of industry leaders, a group of professionals in the field, such as yourself, a group of hobbyists sitting down with the senator would help to clarify for him what a boondoggle this really is and how ill-advised it really is. He's been sold a bill of goods by some people on his staff who have him convinced it's going to catapult him into the presidency. And of course, the reality is it'll do just the opposite. It will make of him a pariah.
Yeah, this crosses lines for the parties. It's not one side against the other on this. It's it doesn't matter what your political viewpoint is. If you're an aquarist and you like your fish and you're a responsible hobbyist, you don't want to see this passed.
Well, of course, it's not just fish. It's
Yep.
all reptiles,
Yep.
Yeah, those
all amphibians,
birds.
all birds, all insects, and the Lacey Act controls the importation of plants.
Yep.
So they could, as a bureaucratic step, simply roll this in
Yep.
with the other areas of concern they have, and it would thereby include all living things,
Yep.
anything alive, including fruits, vegetables, any kind of food, any kind of food. I mean, it's draconian to a level that we've never really experienced. Now, I wanted to kind of segue in to to what you're doing, to your research, by saying that I learned today something that I had heard about a couple of years ago, that the aquatic commercial interests, the fish collectors in Brazil, have been suffering under a whitelist law for some years.
Mhm.
They've only been able to collect the animals on that list. They finally were able to get that rescinded through the legislature, and no longer have a white list. They now have a black list, which is what we do, and it's acceptable. You know, we can fight over individual items,
Sure.
but it's workable. That happened right at the moment when COVID hit. So they really have not been able to benefit from it yet. We haven't seen much in the way of animals coming in yet. But you're doing much the same thing in Peru. Outline for me what your project is in Peru. Some of us know about PIA, but we don't know as much about you. Maybe you could draw some distinctions.
Sure. So about 10 years ago or so, I had an opportunity to buy some land in Peru, along with 5 partners.
Where?
This is in the northeast corner of Peru, in the city of Iquitos, Peru, outside the city, actually.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
tropical fish center.
Yeah. It's the center of fish exportation out of Peru. No matter where the fish are collected, they're pretty much sent to Iquitos.
To Iquitos, right.
Then to Lima, just to go through the checks again, and then out from Lima. So we bought the land. It was about 2 hectares of land. And my partner asked me, who was actually the general manager for the largest fish exporter in Iquitos, said, you ever thought about having a research center? At the time, no, I never thought about having a research center. That was beyond anything I ever thought about. Said, we have this land. Why don't we start a research center? Okay, sure. Let's start a research center. So we came up with the name Amazon Research Center for Ornamental Fishes. And we only deal with ornamental fishes. But we just had a name for many years. We didn't do anything because, it costs a lot of money to build a research center from the ground up. All it was land. And so we started building little by little. And then there are homestead laws in Peru that says no matter what land it is, unless it's federal land, if you show use and put a house on it, that becomes your land. Well, we lost a third of our land because someone built the house overnight.
Wow.
And so we didn't have quite clear title, so we couldn't really fight it even in the courts. And most people don't fight it because it costs way too much money. So at that point, we realized we either do something or we just sell the land so it doesn't get stolen from us. And so my wife and I talked about it, and we decided if this is something that I wanted to do, that she would support me in doing this. And so it was about 6 years ago that we really went into this full force. At this point, we have most of the buildings. We have to do a little bit more construction, but it's all, last year we had our first foreign researchers stay at the research center to do some research. But our goal is to teach the local fishermen how to sustainably breed the aquarium fishes. The only
to
time
breed them.
to breed them, because the only time they can collect the fish is during dry season when the water is low.
Right.
And what they do is they over collect because they have to collect as many to sell as many as they can to get them through 6 months without a job. Or if they have a job during that 6 months, it's doing something destructive to the environment.
Right.
So if we teach them how to breed fish, we're not telling them don't collect fish during the dry season, but here you have a steady income all year long if you can breed your fish in these ponds,
Right.
and then collect those fish during the rainy season and sell those fish. And so that's our model, is to bring some of these fish into ponds and breed them. And we've successfully showed that we can breed many of these fish in pond situations, especially the apistogramma. You know, the cichlids are really the number one group of fish that comes out of Iquitos. Really, it's out of cichlids, but you know, for the most fish, it's going to be cichlids. And we have shown that we can breed cichlids very easily in small outdoor ponds without feeding the fish, without additional feeding, because there's enough insects and enough food in the water in these ponds.
Yeah, exactly. So you're doing food web.
They're in their natural climate and then their natural environment.
That's right. They're in their natural environment. Sure, it's not like a really intensive aquaculture, but it allows them to still have a steady income. And so we believe that the pet trade is set up to really support sustainable breeding of these fishes. And
so you're really setting up it's really a farming operation.
Really a farming, but it's not huge farming. We're not putting massive amounts of waste in the environment, since we're not overstocking. Is it
more like the Eastern model, the Asian model of a local farm with a pond?
Yeah. And it's all natural. Because we're not bringing in foreign fish, we're bringing fish that are from that area. So let's say if they do escape somehow, they're just escaping into their native environments. We're not, we're not bringing fish from South Peru into Northern Peru. No, we're just having them, breed the fish that they normally fish for during the dry season.
So now these ponds, how are they filled? What's the water source?
The water source is groundwater. The groundwater is about 6 inches below the surface. So you build a pond. These ponds are no more than 2.5 feet deep. Within 2 or 3 days, water infiltrates through the soil, and you have perfectly clear water.
So you've got a pretty high water table.
Oh yes.
How deep? How deep is that water table? Do you know?
There is a clay layer, a caliche clay layer, about 6 feet in most areas.
Okay.
So it's right there. It's right at the surface.
Yeah, that's comparable to Southwest Florida.
Yeah.
Which is why we have a fish farming industry here, because there's a clay bed about 10, 12 feet down.
Yep.
That the surface water table runs on, and that's how the ponds are filled. So it's the same concept. That's exciting. Now, so they're dirt ponds.
Dirt ponds. You can line the sides with dirt-filled sandbags, so it doesn't prevents erosion from the banks. Yeah.
Right. I'll get into the weeds here a little bit because I'm interested. One of the biggest problems that the farmers here have is predation. Snakes, turtles, otters, whatever. I'm sure that's true there too. So how are they dealing with predation issues?
Predation isn't as big as a problem as you would think in many places. You know, in the 14 years that I've been working in the Amazon, I have seen one snake. That's it.
Holy cow!
So snakes
Wow.
aren't
That's a shocker.
problem. Yeah, yeah. Maybe
Opposite,
birds.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, maybe birds are a problem, but you know, in our ponds, the biggest problems we have are the toads. The toads will breed in any body of water, and nothing eats toad tadpoles. So the toad tadpoles
Really?
compete for, you know, the food with your fish.
Huh.
So that's really the biggest problem we have.
So how do you deal with that?
Just
How
try
do you?
try to collect as many tadpoles as possible. You know,
Just trap them out.
Yeah,
Wow.
you can erect like a barrier fence around your pond, but then
To keep the toads out.
Yeah, that gets
Yeah.
into added expenses. And most of these fish farmers, you know, they live day to day. Even during the good season when they're collecting fish, they're getting pennies on a dollar for these fish.
Right.
And so they're not making lots of money. So we try to keep this as
Simple.
cheap as possible for them to do this aquaculture.
This really leads into the next issue, which is the I don't know what you call it, the producers
Yep.
in this industry, which are the kind of people you're describing, dirt farmers. Generally speaking, not wealthy people, not big industrial operations. There are some, to be sure, but the great majority, if they're localized, like yours are essentially dirt farmers.
Yep.
What can be done to improve the or to change the marketing in such a way that they will receive a greater benefit for their services? How can we get them to make more money for their product? Are you working on that?
Well, we're working with the fishermen's union. So a lot of the fishermen in each area have unions now, and so they're trying to get a higher pay for their fish through the union. But eventually, what that means is that cost will be passed on to the middleman. So normally there's the fishermen who collect the fish, a middleman who collects all the fish from the fishermen, especially the local fishermen know, but usually, you know, some of these fishing regions are 10, 12, 14 hour away on boats. And so they're not going to be bringing their fish into market. They're going to have a middleman. So, you know, the middleman is making lots of money. He's working off the back of these fishermen, and he's making
the riverboat.
Yeah. And then the exporter makes the most money. You know, that's who's getting rich off this is the exporters.
Well, and then on this side, the importer, the wholesaler, importer, jobber, wholesaler, retailer.
Mm-hmm.
So how many hands is that? You're going through almost 10 hands to get from that local farmer to an aquarium in somebody's home.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's taking a profit.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the profits double at every level. Every time you go up one step, the profits double. I mean, it's exponentially. We've been seeing it lately in the last year with the prices. The wholesale prices are now double and triple what they were a year to 2 years ago.
Well, I'll give you an example. We were out collecting fish for my research many years ago. I work on invasive species in Peru, work on gouramis, guppies, and tilapia. And we were actually out collecting fish for my research, and we caught 2 small electric eels. And the fishermen who were helping us out asked me, can they keep the eels to sell to the exporters? I no problem. You know, I have no problems with that. You have to make a living above what I'm paying you. And so they sold each of those electric eels for $5 each to one particular wholesaler.
Yeah.
That wholesaler had those two fish on his price list the following week for $75 each.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's,
So
now, is that the wholesaler?
that's the exporter. The
The
exporter.
exporter.
Yeah, the
The
guy
exporter.
who
Wow.
our wholesalers buy from. So that's where the biggest jump in price comes from.
The
Is from
exporter.
the what the exporter pays and what the exporter is selling the fish for. And many of these exporters are not fish people; they're businessmen. They're
Yeah.
looking at the bottom line.
Sure.
They don't
Yeah,
really
looking at
know anything
profits,
about fish.
maximizing profit.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, no, not at all.
Well, yeah, and it's the same thing here. There's so much profiteering. Okay, so um, is there the potential for the unions to create their own export operation?
It's difficult because Peruvian law and the exportation laws are such that you have to have a physical location for your exportation house. It has to be inspected. There has to be certain things in that exporter's facility for it to be certified by the federal government to export fish. Now, what happens is all of a sudden there's a bunch of people out of Iquitos saying they are exporters, and what they're doing is they're renting space from some of the exporters. So they don't really even have a facility; they just rent space. And
they're subbing out.
Yeah. So some of these exporters who are no longer in the business but still have a physical building are getting rich
and
from
the
these other guys.
licenses and permits.
Yep.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, it's a way to get in the door.
Yeah, it is. And it's a way as consumers to lose lots of money if you don't deal with someone who is trustworthy. And every country has their fly-by-night, exporters,
right.
wholesalers, or whatever. And so it's a dangerous world out there.
In Thailand, the farmers, some of the farmers who have more substantial operations, and by that I don't mean $1 million operations. I mean, they've simply got 50,000 jars to raise their venison rather than 5,000.
Yep.
Have found that they can, through the internet, reach a destination buyer. They can reach a retail buyer and go direct from the farm to the retail purchaser. And because they're selling small items in small packages, it's an easier matter shipping them out by regular mail service.
Yeah.
Is there the potential for that kind of thing?
No, because Peru only allows fish to be exported out via the airlines, and it's not it's not a cheap thing to do. Typically,
it's got worse with COVID.
Yeah, a typical to get the best price for exportation, it's 100 kilos, which works out to be about 10 boxes, and that for those 10 boxes, it's about $150 to $175 a box
per box, right?
Per box,
that's $2,000 just to get the order out.
That's just for the water, not including the fish, just for the water. But if you ship one box by itself, that can run you $700.
Holy cow!
Yeah, I have received one box before in the past, and I couldn't believe how much it was for that one box.
Yeah. Wow. So, I was talking with Piaba about Brazil, and it's the same thing there. You know, they're dealing with American Airlines, which has cut services.
Yep. It
Because
used
of
to
COVID
be,
and also increased costs.
yeah, it used to be only one airline was allowed to take fish out of Peru, and that was Latam Airline, which was, you know, it used to be LAN, then they merged with Tama. But now my last shipment in Peru, from Peru, which was in September, actually came through Korean Airlines. So they have opened up the market a little bit in terms of who can ship fish out of Peru now.
Now, Axelrod had his own airplane. He had the Guppy Express that he flew from Peru to Miami. I guess it was out of Peru, I'm not sure. But he flew into Miami every week. Of course, it was a small plane with not a lot of boxes in it, but I don't know, you know, maybe it needs to get back to privately owned air service in order to be able to get stuff out. I don't know. It's a curious problem. Well, what are your main challenges with your project?
Well, it's everybody's main challenge. It's money. You know, we live off of donations. My wife and I, you know, have donated a big chunk. But yeah, we live off donations because we are a nonprofit. We don't, you know, we're not a money making organization in Peru. Any fish that we work with and we produce, we do not sell in the pet trade. It, you know, it either stays in our facility, goes into the public aquarium that we're building, or we're working with the government to actually repopulate the environment with some of these fish that we are actually breeding on site. And so, you know, that's,
I guess there's no government money to do that, I guess.
No, not, you know, for food fish, yes. You know, we're the only research center in the world who deals only with ornamental fish. Peru has a series of federal aquaculture facilities that
they raise a lot of
they're
shrimp.
only for food fish, yes.
Yeah, the big shrimp. And that's problematic because the cost of feeding big shrimp is comparable to the value of the shrimp.
Yeah, that's true with most carnivorous animals. You know, you're pumping in way too much. You're pumping in more protein than you're actually getting out of the fish. So.
Yeah, exactly, right. And you got to pay for that protein. The food web thing that we discussed earlier kind of fascinates me because I've been teaching that now as an aquarist to hobbyists for a few years, creating a natural environment using a dirt sand with a sand cap, a dirt layer with a sand cap, has given us the ability to be able to create a tank that lasts for years and years and years with minimal maintenance. Adding a food web to that has changed the game because it makes it possible now to have fish that, well, like these guys. They've got some Valentes in here. Which is, where are they from? They're from, they're from the part. What's the jungle they're from? I can't remember.
Anyway. They're from the Mekong.
Borneo.
Yeah, Borneo. Okay.
Yeah, right. And I've got a bit of food web in here. I created one for a friend with salt water, using a lot of rock, and put some peppermint gobies in. Was looking at it. It's been set up about 4 months. We were looking at it last night, and there are baby peppermint gobies in there. And that's a tank that is virtually not fed at all. It sustains itself. There are only small fish in it. Sustains itself on the natural flora and fauna that are living in that environment and providing food for for the fish, for the inhabitants. And it sounds like that's what you're doing with the farmers. They're not buying bags of food, I assume, to feed their fish. They're creating a natural food web similar to what exists in the wild where they're collecting the fish, presumably using deep beds of leaves as a way of being able to provide habitat as well as nutrition for the fish. How is that working out?
It's working out fine. We just started another series of ponds doing the same thing with red pencil fish. Red pencil fish are actually critically endangered, but they're still being exported out of Peru like they're a dime a dozen, and so there are very few left in the wild. So we're trying to see if we can develop an aquaculture system for red pencil fish.
Wow.
Primarily to reintroduce them back into some of the areas that they're no longer found in. And that actually just started in January. When I was there in January is when we set up the ponds and we released the fish in January. So hopefully in June, we'll go back, seine the pond and see how many fish we find.
So how much time do you spend in Peru?
I spend every bit of time I can. I'm a college professor by trade. And so during my summer vacations, I will spend the entire summer there. This past year, we have a January session, so I didn't have to teach during the January session. So I spent all of January into February in Peru, actually building aquariums, trying to get all the aquariums ready for the public aquarium to open up in June. So that's our big event that we're happening is having, we have a public aquarium that we built for environmental education for the school kids and for the people in the area.
Scott Stankovich wants to know some of the reasons for the red pencils being in danger.
Two reasons. One is overfishing. Regardless of what we all want to think, overfishing occurs in aquarium trade big time. And also habitat destruction. A lot of the area, especially people where red pencil fish are found, it's 10 to 12 hour boat ride from Iquitos. And so they have to be very self-reliant there. And so they're cutting down the forest for agriculture. They're also cutting down the forest for cocaine planting as well. So there's still a lot of illegal drug production going on in many areas.
Yeah, I was watching. It's a young man who does sort of a world traveler, but he does backwoods kind of traveling, or travels into more troubled or interesting areas. He went to Peru, and that's what he discovered was vast cocoa plantations.
Yep.
Is that something you're facing where your facility is?
No, not at all. No, we're out of the city, but we're not in the middle of the jungle. We're in a small village, and so within 5 minutes we can be in the jungle, but the facility is not actually in the middle of the jungle. So it's in the middle of a small settlement.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things that has come up with this Lacey Act is taking a serious look at what would likely be included and not be included. Mm-hmm. And of course, what would not be included is probably 95% or higher of everything that's currently available. But that includes some interesting things like coral, for example.
Yep.
Now, you're not near the ocean, I guess.
No, we're far away.
Yeah, but coral, the advancements in the hobby and in the industry over the last 20 years are such that every single coral that is found in the wild has been reproduced in captivity.
Yeah.
And to such an extent that they're able to reestablish reefs that have whited out or otherwise been over harvested. A bill like this Lacey Act would completely end all coral activity.
Mhm.
It would stop, and that would destroy the coral reefs worldwide because there would be no protection.
Yep.
It's
Well,
just kind of
and if they-
remarkable when you think about it. And
If they
Go
are
ahead.
destroyed, we won't have anything to replace the corals that are destroyed.
yeah,
Because
they're
we won't
gone.
have
That's
those
right.
farm raised corals per se, because it would not
Right.
be, people
Won't
aren't
be able,
making any
won't be
money
able
off
to
those.
sell
Yeah,
them.
they're
They
not
won't be able to
profitable.
sell
So,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Couldn't move them across state lines. It demonstrates to me that this hobby is very interrelated at all levels of its structure. The hobbyist is an integral part of the species being sustained in its local environment.
Yep.
In terms of money being spent to buy the items, in terms of interest in being supportive of those environments, in terms of being able to make them commercially viable,
Mhm.
and to prevent other kinds of more environmentally destructive kinds of economic activities like mining and logging
Yes.
to go on. Mining
Yes.
and logging are really what destroys the environments.
Well, especially in Peru. Southern Peru has massive gold mining going on that's destroying the rivers.
I mean, that's deadly too, and that's just
Yep.
dosing the rivers with mercury.
Yep.
They have not outlawed mercury,
No.
which they need to do. By the time they get around to it, it'll be too late.
Yeah.
Won't
Yeah.
be able to say because mercury doesn't go away.
No.
It stays in the environment indefinitely. Amazing. We've got about 10 minutes left. Let me see if we got some questions here.
I do want to remind people, maybe some people don't know about this, but we are having a raffle for the Research
Thank
Center.
you. I wanted
That
to get in.
the raffle is for a trip, all expense paid trip for 2 people to come to the Research Center to help us collect fish, work in the aquarium, work on the research, all the above, or do nothing. We'll make the itinerary whatever the people want. There are some stipulations. You have to be over 18 to buy a ticket, but you don't have to be over 18 to come on the trip if you have an adult with you. And you have to use it by September 1st, 2023. So we give you a year and a half to use.
You also have to have a COVID shot to get on the air.
Yes, yeah, that's not our rule. That's the rule of the airlines. And the rule to get into Peru, you actually have to be fully vaccinated for COVID.
Is that right?
Yeah, and you have to have yellow fever injection, the only one they were required to get into many parts of the Amazon. But it's $50 a ticket. It's for 2 people. That's only $25 each, and there is limited number of tickets. We're not doing an unlimited. There is a limited number of tickets.
Well, I bought mine.
Hey,
I'm on the list.
That's as they said. Used to say with the lottery in California, you can't win unless you play.
Really?
And we've had people say, "How can you do a lottery?" I mean, because this is a lottery. Well, it's a raffle. We are actually certified by the state of California to hold raffles. We went through the whole licensing process. So we're doing everything on the up and up. The last thing we want to do is do anything illegal. And if you do collect fish and you want to bring the fish back or have them shipped back, you can work with an exporter that we work with to have those fish shipped back. Of course, you pay all the, you pay the shipping costs and the permitting costs, things of that sort. But we will arrange that if that's what some people want to do. We do have permits to collect fish. You would be collecting with us. We collect limited number of fish. It's not like you're going to go out and collect 500 corridors to ship back so you can get rich. It's in limited supplies. We're not trying to support someone's business by shipping them back 500 discus or something of that sort.
We need some information about how to buy the raffle ticket.
If you go to my YouTube channel, the Amazon Research Center YouTube channel, there is a short video, minute long, that just has raffle, raffle, raffle. And in the comments, there is the link to buy the raffle tickets. It goes to. Can you post that? It goes to the raffle per se is not being handled by us. We don't see any of the money. It's going through a company that works with nonprofits on all money, all donations. So we have access to it. They handle all the money, and we actually will not get the money until a month after the raffle is done. So it's not like we're getting the money now, we're running to Tijuana or something. We don't see it for at least a month now. So what's your annual
budget?
Our annual budget, the budget for this year, because my wife just had to do it for our board of directors meeting, our budget for this year is $200,000.
That's a bite, isn't it? Yeah.
That includes, the aquarium, putting in the rest of the aquarium, the people we have to hire for the aquarium, and a couple other projects that we're trying to get done at the research facility itself.
Nice. Well, that's exciting. I'm delighted to have you here, Dr. Anthony.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here too.
Yeah, I've been following you.
I've always heard about Dr. Father Fish and his birded aquarium. So that's why I checked into your channel to begin with, to see what you're all about.
Well, I'm excited about the fact that that's what you're doing. We need to get some videos. Do you have videos?
Yeah, there are some videos on our YouTube channel. On the website too. Yeah, but on our YouTube channel, we have some videos. I actually go back to Peru next week for 10 days, where I plan to do a lot more videos to post on our YouTube channel.
I really am interested in promoting videos that explain the food web and the whole system that the farmers are using to raise the fish.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's it's so vital to what we're trying to do here to help people become successful fish keepers.
Yeah.
Because there are too many people who fail.
Yeah.
And they fail because they're trying to create something essentially that's plastic and not natural and not healthy and not really supportive of life.
Yeah.
So communicating the idea that you really can have a living environment with dirt and leaves and all the things that you're not supposed to do in your home aquarium, and it'll be better and it'll be beautiful and it'll be spectacular and you'll have fish breeding in it. That's the kind of story we really want to be able to tell.
How many of us get rid of all the mulm when we vacuum out our tanks every, do a gravel bath? I mean, mulm is a great food source for a lot of bacteria, a lot of microorganisms.
Yeah,
it's really serve your fish.
It is the foundation of life.
Yep.
It's not there for nothing. Absolutely. That's exciting. Well, again, thank you so much for coming
up. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're going to be following you. What we up to? We're up to 55.
Hey, I get about 30 on mine, so this is the biggest one of the biggest audiences I've ever had.
Now we'll get you over to Alex. Alex.
Well, no,
is running
I've been on Alex. Yeah, Alex was the first
Yeah.
person to have me on, and I've actually been on his channel twice.
Okay.
I did a fish necropsy once. The second time I was on.
Oh my goodness!
In my
Wow.
lab, yeah.
Exciting. That's neat. Oh, I did hear about that. I've seen that.
Yeah, I was actually on Alex's channel right before I came over here, and I, you know, not on, but just in the chat said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got to go over to Father Fish." He said, "Oh, good luck," you know. So he knew I was coming over here tonight.
Yeah, he's a good buddy. I appreciate it. Alex is one of the Alex and Lucas are probably and myself are really the only people who are vigorously promoting natural aquariums.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else really is doing it, and it's
in my day they were called the Dutch style.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
I bet that back in the 70s, early 80s, it was called Dutch aquarium.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's kind of taken on a different meaning, but it's that's what it is. It's a living environment.
Yep.
Well, we lost our girl.
Oh,
Herefishy is having trouble staying online, so she did post the link for your YouTube. So get on over there and be supportive of them. Buy a ticket. You know, how many tickets are there, and how many are sold so far? Do you know?
I think as of this morning there were 70 tickets sold. So
what's the limit?
The limit is about 120 or so.
Are you getting close there? What's the deadline?
Deadline is 31st of March, so we have 20 days.
Okay.
You know, right now we know, you know, within the first 2 days we sold 40 tickets. So, you know, every day now we've been, you know, slowly, you know, we need to make a certain amount just to earn our money back, to tell you the truth, you know.
Right, exactly. You got to get the 120.
Yeah.
You got to get, and it's going to stop there.
It'll stop somewhere around there. Yes. Yeah. It's, my wife has the exact number, but you know, it's not an unlimited amount of tickets at all. I mean, you know.
Oh, okay.
It's not 500, it's not 400, not even 200, you know.
Wow.
So you buy a ticket, you know, you're going to have
you got an even
100 chance or something, you know, a little over
exactly.
That's not a bad chance, really.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Not for something like that. Well, that's exciting. Let's see now. Scott's saying, amazing you do all that for $200K. Oh, he wants to know what college you're affiliated with.
I am a professor at SoCa University of America. We're a small liberal arts university here in Southern California. We have an enrollment of about 500 undergraduate students. One of the things our students have to do is they are required to do a study abroad in another country, but it is part of their tuition, so they don't have to pay extra to do their study abroad. So that really what drew me here was the idea that these students, you know, just aren't concerned about what's going on in their hometown. They get a more global perspective. I was a professor in Texas for 10 years, and you know, students couldn't care less what was happening outside of the boundary of Texas. So it's a refreshing. Here, fishy.
Try one more time. I didn't want to interrupt you guys. Popping in and out with my technical difficulties.
That's no problem. So
I just felt like you guys are talking some important things that we need to know. This is so important. Really, it is.
So Alex is here, and Dee Dee did say in the chat that I do have a live stream every Monday at 10:30 Pacific time, or 1:30 Eastern time, where we talk about conservation issues dealing with aquarium fishes.
So Monday afternoon.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not, you know, we also have a Saturday series.
You said?
We have a Saturday series called Talk to the Expert or Talk with the Experts, and that's more technical, more scientific.
Nice.
We were having someone on Saturday, the 19th of March. That's our next one, from SHOAL, which is an international organization on conservation of freshwater systems. And, you know, some of those get pretty technical. My Monday streams, I I try to be as technical as a 6-year-old. So, you know, I don't want to be too technical on my Saturday,
Right.
on my Friday, Monday streams. Can't get my days of the week correct.
We'll find
Alex
you.
is
This
saying-
sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Alex is saying you teach at the school with the highest teacher to student ratio in the country.
Yeah, one of the highest.
Wow.
You know, I teach this semester. I teach a upper division ecology course, and I have 8 students in it.
Wow.
The largest
That's
class,
undergraduate.
yeah, undergraduate. My largest class I've ever taught there was 24, and that was too many. They keep our classes smaller than that. My fish biology last semester had 12 students, and my aquaculture course had 10 students. So that's, you know, I like to teach around 10 to 12 students. That's what we like to keep our classes at.
That's, yeah. Really,
That's
Carol,
amazing.
yes, I trimmed my beard. I did.
Yes, I got a haircut. I didn't wear my
You did too.
my toupee tonight. Yes, that I surprised
That's
everybody with.
Really?
My
funny.
fake toupee.
That's a real toupee.
No, it's not a real toupee. Remember, grass doesn't grow. Grass does not grow on a busy street. Just remember that.
There you go.
That's
really,
great.
Really. Okay, well, we're just right at our deadline here. I guess Alex was on earlier, right? He won't be coming up following.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Lucas
he was on.
will
And
be
Lucas should be next.
Yeah, Lucas will be coming.
I
up
didn't
shortly.
hear, Dr. Anthony, have you been on Lucas's stream yet?
No, I haven't been on Lucas's stream. I go to streams that I like to watch the people. You know, I never go on a stream hoping that they'll ask me to come on. That's the last thing. You know, I've been watching the YouTube for a long time. Just decided to have my, you know, YouTube channel of our own once we started the talks. But you know, I'm an aquarist like you all. I'm a hobbyist. That's, you know, and that's
You're one of us still.
Yeah, I'm one of you guys. I mean, I just happen to.
Well, sure. Why else would you be passionate about this?
Yeah, I may have a PhD, but that doesn't make me any better as an aquarist than anybody else. You know,
well, that tank behind you, when I saw the bigger shot, looked great.
Well, that's a 500-gallon corner tank that I actually built myself.
Oh, nice.
About 20 years ago.
Right into the wall.
It's filled with 30 wild discus that I brought back from Peru.
Oh, wonderful.
So, yeah, I'm, you know,
wow.
discus, you know, if you see my emblem, you know, discus are my favorite fish. They always have been. I've kept discus for many years. I used to breed lots of discus. You know, now I keep fish just for the enjoy of keeping fish. I'm not a breeder. You know, I give more fish away than I've ever sold in my life. So I like the aquarium as a hobby, not as a business.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, that's your me time.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys. I'll be back on Sunday with Mary. Mary Page will be with us, and Jackie Anderson from Piabo will be our guest.
Who I talked to this morning. I talked to her this morning about my mistake.
Yes. I know you did.
Yes, I did. You know,
I spent 3 hours on the phone talking to everybody.
Mistakes are not tolerated nowadays. Do not make another one ever.
I won't. I'll try not to, but I'm sure I will.
What
tonight.
were you thinking? You got excited about something you were passionate about.
Yep.
And
I wanted it to be true so much. So.
Oh, I know.
I jumped the gun.
Well,
yeah.
That can't happen nowadays. Tisk.
I know. I'll be never asked on another stream again. Thank you very much, Father Fish. Thank you very much.
Hold on a minute.
Thank you so much.
Fishy.
Don't go away.
Okay.
Take care, guys. See you all Sunday.